Machiavelli understood that attraction is not only romance. It is an influence. It is presence. It is the silent reading of strength, intention, and stability. What women want men to know is rarely spoken directly. It lives beneath language, in psychology, in safety, in emotional intelligence, in perception. Desire is often misunderstood as something simple. A look, a word, a surface preference. This is not a story about manipulation. It is a reflection on what draws people inward and what quietly pushes them away. Because attraction is rarely loud. It is often a feeling of something unshaken. Many men are taught that desire is earned through display. But what women want men to know is quieter than that. Attraction is not always about performance. It is about atmosphere. It is about how a presence feels before a word is spoken. Attraction is often approached as a question of doing, saying the right thing, looking a certain way, performing confidence loud enough to be noticed. Women often experience connection through emotional signal. Is this person steady? Is this person aware? Is this person safe? The misunderstanding begins when attraction is treated like conquest instead of resonance. Machiavelli understood that people are drawn not only to beauty or charm, but to perceived stability. Power, in his view, was not always force. It was composure. Women rarely want endless explanation. They rarely want loud dominance. What is often desired is self-possession. A man who is grounded, not performative. Present, not desperate. Calm, not chasing. The quiet misunderstanding is that many believe attraction is created by impressing. But impressing is unstable. It is built on anxiety, on anticipation, on the need to control perception. And anxiety is felt. True attraction often begins when effort becomes less visible, when attention is not demanded, but many men are taught that desire is earned through display. But what women want men to know is quieter than that. Attraction is not always about performance. It is about atmosphere. It is about how a presence feels before a word is spoken. Attraction is often approached as a question of doing, saying the right thing, looking a certain way, performing confidence loud enough to be noticed. Women often experience connection through emotional signal. Is this person steady? Is this... From the beginning, human beings are wired to seek safety. A child learns what connection feels like through response. Attention becomes comfort. Consistency becomes security. Over time, these early emotional patterns become templates. What is wanted later in love is often rooted in what was needed early in life. Women, like all people, carry nervous systems trained by relationships. They do not only seek attraction, they seek stability beneath attraction. Psychologically, this is not a weakness. It is survival. The brain is constantly asking, is this person predictable? Is this person emotionally safe? Is this connection steady or chaotic? Many men misunderstand this because they believe desire is purely visual or immediate. But much of female psychology operates beneath words. Women often sense emotional intention before logic enters. A man who is inconsistent creates anxiety. A man who is steady creates calm. Machiavelli understood that influence is not always spoken. It is felt. Presence is persuasive. That is why emotional maturity becomes attractive. Not perfection, not dominance, but awareness. The need beneath desire is often simple. To be understood without performance. To feel safe without constant explanation. To trust without fear of instability. This chapter reveals something important. Attraction is not only about wanting someone. It is about feeling safe near them. The root of desire is emotional grounding. And what women want men to know is that the strongest connection is built not through chasing, but through steadiness. The man who understands this does not become someone else. He becomes more present, and presence is where attraction begins long before words. A man who is anchored internally does not demand reassurance externally. This creates attraction because it creates space, not pressure. Many believe attraction comes from intensity, grand gestures, constant attention, dramatic emotion. But psychology suggests something quieter. The nervous system is drawn toward regulation. A calm presence signals safety. Neuroscience shows that humans unconsciously mirror emotional states. This is called co-regulation. When someone is steady, others feel steadier around them. This is why emotional control is attractive. Not because it is cold, but because it is grounding. Women often respond not only to words, but to nervous system energy. Is this man anxious? Is he reactive? Does he need validation? Or is he composed? Machiavelli understood that power is carried, not announced. The most influential person in a room is often the one who does not rush. Presence is the ability to be fully there without performing. It is calm, speaking without needing approval. Psychologically, this reflects an internal locus of control. A regulated person does not pull the interaction into chaos. They remain centered, and the center is rare. True presence is subtle. A slower tone, a steady gaze, the absence of urgency. Women often interpret this as strength because it suggests emotional maturity, not dominance over others, but mastery of the self. This chapter reveals that attraction is not always about what is done. It is about what is felt. The man who becomes present stops chasing the idea of being attractive. He becomes emotionally stable, and stability is magnetic. Because what people desire most is not excitement alone. It is peace with depth. Presence is that peace. Many men carry a quiet pressure to impress, to prove worth through performance. This pressure creates inner conflict. One part of the mind wants connection. Another part fears rejection. So attraction becomes effort, overthinking, trying too hard, needing signals of approval to feel stable. Psychologically, this is insecurity disguised as pursuit. A man may want to be confident, but inside, he may be negotiating. Am I being seen? Am I valued? Am I losing control? This anxiety is often unspoken, but it is felt. Women sense emotional urgency. They feel when attention is offered freely and when it is offered as a request for validation. Machiavelli understood that people reveal themselves most through need. The person who needs too much becomes predictable. The person who remains composed becomes difficult to control. This is the conflict. Men are taught to chase, but chasing can feel unstable. They confuse intensity with sincerity. They believe more effort means more value. Yet attraction often weakens under desperation, not because desire disappears, but because emotional pressure creates imbalance. Many men also fear silence. They fill space with words. They explain too much. They rush to prove confidence instead of embodying it. But real confidence is quieter. This chapter is about releasing the performance, because the strongest attraction is not built through constant effort. It is built through steadiness. When a man stops seeking approval and begins holding presence, the inner conflict softens. He no longer tries to be chosen. He becomes whole. And wholeness is what creates connection without force. This is not about becoming colder. It is about becoming anchored. Machiavelli's understanding of power was never loud. It was perceptive. Machiavelli would say that the person who reacts less holds more control. In relationships, the one who is emotionally grounded creates gravity. Women are often drawn to a man who does not beg for attention, not because he is distant, but because he is stable. This is Machiavelli's law of attraction. Power is perception. A man who is calm signals strength. A man who is consistent signals safety. A man who does not perform signals authenticity. This is not manipulation. It is emotional discipline, the ability to stay centered rather than desperate. Many believe attraction is built through endless pursuit, but pursuit can become pressure. Machiavelli understood timing, knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, when to move, and when to wait. The man who is always chasing is always exposed. The man who is composed becomes intriguing, because composure suggests inner wealth, a mind not starving for validation. This chapter is not about playing games. It is about understanding human psychology. People value what feels secure. They're drawn toward what cannot be easily shaken. So Machiavelli's secret is simple. Confidence is attractive because it is rare, not arrogance, not dominance, but quiet self-possession. The man who carries himself without needing applause becomes unforgettable because he does not demand to be desired. He simply becomes steady enough to be felt. The strongest relationships are rarely built through constant pursuit. They are built through emotional consistency. A man does not create attraction by proving himself endlessly. He creates attraction by becoming present, by offering attention without desperation, by showing care without needing control, by speaking with honesty rather than performance. This is what women often want men to know. The need to chase is usually the need to be validated, and validation is fragile. Machiavelli understood that power is lost when it is begged for. The same is true for connection. When a man becomes stable within himself, he does not cling. He does not fear silence. He does not rush to fill space. He does not treat love as a negotiation. Instead, he brings calm structure. Boundaries form naturally, not walls, but clarity. He knows what he offers, and he does not abandon himself for approval. Psychologically, this creates trust, because trust is built through steadiness. Women are drawn to emotional maturity more than perfection, to a man who can hold uncertainty without collapsing, to a man who listens without defensiveness. Connection becomes deeper when attention is not a performance, when affection is not a transaction. Chasing creates imbalance. Presence creates resonance. The man who stops chasing is not indifferent. He is grounded. He chooses connection rather than pursuing it anxiously. This chapter is the integration. Attraction is not won. It is cultivated through calm energy, through emotional awareness, through the quiet strength of self-respect. And when self-respect is present, love becomes less about winning and more about understanding. In the end, what women want men to know is not complicated. Desire is not only physical, it is psychological. It is a response to presence, stability, and emotional depth. Attraction does not live in perfect words. It lives in how someone feels to be near. Machiavelli understood that influence is rarely force. It is perception. It is the quiet power of someone who is unshaken. Women often want to feel safe with strength, not strength that dominates, but strength that holds. A man who is emotionally steady becomes a kind of shelter, not because he saves, but because he remains. True desire is not conquest. It is resonance. The deepest attraction is not to performance, but to authenticity, to calmness, to the man who does not chase attention, because he is not starving for it, to the man who listens without needing control, who speaks without needing approval, who carries himself with quiet self-respect. This is not about manipulation or strategy. It is about human psychology. People are drawn toward emotional steadiness, toward clarity, toward presence. In a world full of noise, the calm mind becomes magnetic. Machiavelli's laws, when softened through compassion, reveal something simple. Power is not loud, and neither is true attraction. It lives in what is consistent, in what is grounded, in what is not begged to be chosen. What women want men to know is this: the most attractive thing is not perfection. It is peace, a person who belongs to themselves fully. And in that belonging, connection becomes natural, desire becomes quiet, and love becomes less of a pursuit and more of a meeting. That is the closure, not a rule, but a truth. The strongest presence is the one that feels safe, steady, and real.